So welcome to the podcast. I'm Kalita, and today the tables have turned and we're actually interviewing Laura Evans. She's given me the opportunity to ask her 1,000,001 questions. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy. Wow, how lucky am I? Because I get to turn the tables on Laura.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this.
I know, this is great. It's great. So this is your podcast that I'm taking over. How cool is that?
I love it. The reins are in your hands.
Most definitely. So it's great to welcome you to your podcast. So I'm really curious, as I would imagine everybody who's listening is really interested to know actually who is Laura and what's Laura's story and how did you get to be where you are today? So I'm just going to leave that's quite an open-ended question, isn't it? So where did it all start?
Wow, okay. So for me, I mean, I've always had a passion in developing and supporting people to grow. Like, you know, at 13 years old, I was teaching horse riding on a Saturday and a Sunday afternoon. Like, my passion to want to help people learn and grow, it's been in me ever since I was a small child. I mean, I'm not sure how I'd feel with a 13-year-old teaching me to ride now, but nevertheless, people did it, you know, and it was fine. And I always had a massive sense of achievement. When I saw someone do their first jump or I saw someone do something for the first time, I always got, you know, a real thrill myself out of it. And it wasn't really until I started reflecting on my journey that I realised that that's probably where it started. You know, fast forward then through obviously all my school years and bits and pieces. And, you know, the journey with NLP for me probably started in 2008. So I've been in and around NLP now for over 10 years. And there were two things that happened in 2008. I happened to be working for the head office of a very well-known food retailer at the time. And I remember this young lady just come off the graduate recruitment programme. I was in HR, as people may or may not know. That was my background before I did this. And she'd come off the graduate recruitment programme, desperate to be a corporate trainer. And she was such a lovely woman. And I sit next to her in the office and, you know, I knew she knew her stuff, but every time she'd stand up to present and in front of an audience, it was like a different person. You know, her words would leave her and she'd get the shakes and she, you know, all the sweaty palms and, you know, all the things that, you know, if I'm honest, I used to suffer with, you know, before I sorted myself out. And, you know, and I really felt for her. And I went off and did some change management, which is obviously what I ended up doing towards the end. But you know, came back after that and saw her on the agenda. And I'll always to this day remember passing her in the corridor and go, "Good luck for the talk later. I'm really looking forward to seeing you." And she was like, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too." And she was like gone over my shoulder. And I was like, you know, those kind of deja vu moments when you kind of go, "Did that just happen? Yes, that just happened. Yes, she did just say that." And like, that's different. And thought no more of it until we got to the meeting. And then, you know, I was sat opposite the boardroom table and actually got to go and present. And I kind of gave her the thumbs up and go, "Good luck," you know. And she just smiled and got up and, well, you know, blow me down with a feather, quite frankly, because she was confident, eloquent, delivered her message and sat back down and my jaw just dropped, you know. As some of the listeners may know me, I'm never really lost for words, but that day I completely was. I said to her after, she came up, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know who you are and what you've done with the predecessor, but I need to know, you know." And she just kind of smiled when I'd been on a course. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, what's that then?" She went, "It's an NLP course." And I went, "What's that?" "All neuro-linguistic programming." And she said, "We need a coffee." So my passion, I guess, and my interest in NLP came because I saw other people getting results from it. And I found out that was the toolkit that sat behind it. And I was like, I need to know more about this stuff. Like, in the space of, I was only gone for about 12 weeks. And the transformation in her was just phenomenal. And so, so I think you know, whether you call it fate, the universe, whatever people believe in, it threw something right in focus for me. And I think life does that to us quite often. And all of a sudden I kind of woke up to the fact that I could change stuff for me too. So I think 2008 is officially when it started, although it's been in me for a long time.
Maybe it might be helpful if we gave a little bit of you gave a nice succinct description of what NLP is.
A lot of people think of it as a bunch of techniques. You know, it's all about mindset, right? I'm often referred to as the mindset lady. That's exactly what we are. But, you know, there are a bunch of techniques like, you know, we can get rid of a phobia in 20 minutes. We can get rid of someone's limiting belief in 12 minutes. You know, we can completely turn someone, you know, someone believes I'm not good enough to I'm totally good enough in 12 minutes. Like, that's amazing. That we can change someone's mindset and we can work with the unconscious mind. And that's also what I'm passionate about, because so many people try to change problems consciously. You know, it's like 21 days to change a habit or whatever the number is this month, but, you know, it keeps changing. But that's, you're trying to consciously change it. You're trying to put a conscious focus on a behaviour which is driven by the unconscious mind. Let's just get into the unconscious mind and change it, shall we? You know, I often describe it like changing the autopilot or the, you know, do a factory reset. You know, it's like, rather than going to do a presentation and feeling anxious, let's change that at an unconscious level. So when you go to do a presentation, you feel excited. Would that help?
Yeah.
Yes, of course it would. Great. Well, let's do that. So you don't have to consciously think about it. So for me, it gave me an instruction mind for the mind. It made me a much better communicator, much better, you know, influencing. Influencing is all about building rapport, and actually being able to talk to people in a way that works for them. And when I understood how to do it, I was like, oh, is that what they mean? Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I can do that.
It's actually quite simple, isn't
it's
it?
not difficult. But, you know, so there's this technique part of NLP, which gets the kudos, gets the attention, gets the wow, that's amazing. And then there's the linguistic part to NLP, which often gets overlooked, in my opinion. That is that conversation, the questioning and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about what NLP is, but you know, it's a instruction manual for the mind. It's an attitude of curiosity. It's a willingness to learn. It's a desire to change, and to ultimately help you achieve your goals faster and more easier.
Yeah, nicely done. Neuro-linguistic programming.
I know.
NLP. There we go. I know that similarly your story about redundancy is the same as mine, if you like. And I wonder if it might be helpful for people to understand where you were at that time and actually how that can help people in a similar circumstance right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think redundancy is hugely exciting. And anybody that's listening to this at the moment going through a redundancy process will think I'm completely barking mad. It's like, how can that be exciting? But whenever we have people that come on our courses that are going through redundancy, I get hugely excited for them. Because I think, do you know what? So many of us suffer in a work environment. And when I say suffer, what I mean is we stick with what we know because it's safe, because it's easy. I get a regular income. All right, I'm a bit miserable. I'm a bit bored, but it's all right. And I remember being that person. And I, you know, find people that are like that. And I just think, do you know what? When you go through a redundancy process, it's like someone's given you a blank sheet of paper. Like, you can create whatever future you want. You can change profession. You can go from being employed to self-employed. You can go from being, you know, somebody that's, you know, for example, an operator in an organisation to becoming a director of a company if you really wanted to. And, you know, you could go back. You know, so many people I meet going to tell me, you know, but I wish I'd followed my passion. You know, when I was younger, when I was starting out, I wish I hadn't just followed the crowd and done the corporate job. I mean, you know, that's what I did for 15 years. I know what that's like. You know, and actually you kind of think, redundancy? This is your time. This is your opportunity to carve your future out, to go back and go, do you know what? If that passion is still inside of you, if there's that little flicker of a light that's still in there, go do it. You know, like I remember when I was being made redundant, and I remember talking to people about it, because you do, right? You talk to the people that were around you, you look for support, you know, and often redundancy comes completely out of the blue. You know, some of us are lucky enough, you know, I worked in HR, so I often saw it coming. I was often involved in the behind the scenes activity to decide if it was needed or not. But often it's a massive surprise and it really catches you off guard. You know, you go from calm state of maybe boredom and not happy, but you know what, it's predictable.
You're in the job.
It's predictable, it's fairly certain, you know, it's quite samey, you know, and all that, and all of a sudden someone cuts up your world and sits you down and has that conversation and says to you, Laura, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you're at risk of redundancy. And I remember that. I remember the being gobsmacked at someone would do that to me. But I've worked my arse off for this company. I've given my heart and soul to it, and you want to cast me aside? you know, and I remember that feeling, you know, and I don't think you can ever stop someone going through that. You know, people that are listening to this that are familiar with change management will know about the curve, the change curve that we go through. And I think, you know, you have to go through that curve in redundancy as much as any other major life effect. You know, you will mourn it, you will grieve for it. You know, it will be sadness, there will be denial, but out the other side is massive opportunity. You know, and for me, redundancy was huge. Now, what redundancy did give me was the opportunity to kickstart this business. Like, I've been made redundant 3 times in my career. Thankfully, I won't get redundant now because I run the business, but I was made redundant 3 times.
Wow.
And every single time I was made redundant, I did the panic. I did the, what am I going to do? But every single time something better happened. And that 3rd and final time when I was made redundant, I went on a prac course.
Right.
That's what I did.
Okay.
You know, we're very lucky here in Wales, which is where we're filming and shooting this podcast, that at that time there was funding available. And because of what had happened back in 2008 and my interest in NLP had been kind of, you know, fired up, I did what most people did, nothing. Googled it, read a book or 2, put it down, did nothing else with it. And then this opportunity arose and it was like, okay, I could get some funding. I'm really interested in this stuff. I wonder where it would take me. And so, and I sat there on day 2, I think, of my prac course. And I'd already had a conversation with the director I'd worked with at that time. And I said to him, you know, if you could create any job for me, what would it be? And he said, that's easy. It's an absolute no-brainer. He said, you in front of an audience talking about something that you're passionate about. He said, you can't buy that stuff. And I sat there on day 2 of the prac course, and I was there with everybody else. There's like 14, 18 of us, whatever, on the course, and everybody else was all cool and calm and chilled. And then I just sat there and the penny dropped and I went, I've just found my business. I've just found my business. And I was looking around to my left and to my right and looking at the trainer, and the person said, you all right, Law? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. But inside I'm doing this little joy dance. And I'm like, oh, I've just found my business. Like, I could see myself doing this. You know, I say to people, if ever you're going to set up your own business, be sure it's something you're passionate about, because you'll work hard. But you're lining your own pocket. And I was like, I could do this for 8 hours a week. I could train people. And then I got through back to my days of teaching horse riding. You know, imagine being sat in the training room in front of 12 people, all of whom change a limiting belief, all of whom get rid of internal conflict, all of whom's confidence grows. Like, to be able to do that, I think it's a privilege. I really do consider myself really privileged to be able to make that kind of difference for people. But redundancy is where it started. You know, so I think redundancy is amazing. And although it doesn't feel like it, I know.
But I can, like, your passion that comes through just when you talk about changing people with the techniques and the tools and NLP and everything it does. Okay, so let's throw in a little bit of controversy then, shall we?
Let's go for it.
The world of NLP.
Yes.
Now, I'm aware that I went on an NLP course before I came on your training, and it was shocking. And I can say that because I was the delegate and I was there, and I didn't really realise what I was doing. The things I was being taught, I felt weren't taught to me sufficiently enough to understand what I was doing. What's your view on the NLP world and associated, not trainers, but let's just say the NLP bubble.
The industry.
The industry itself. That's a good way of describing it.
Yeah, okay. Where do we start? To be quite frank, it's shocking.
Okay.
It's shocking. You know, the number of people that come to us to be retrained is much higher than I ever imagined it would be. You know, we've got people out there that are walking around with NLP practitioner certificates that they paid $19.99 for on the internet, and they can do absolutely nothing. Let's just say that. You know, and I feel sad for them because they've been sucked in by someone else's sales process. They've been sold a lie. Because you know, I just think so. You know, I'll come on to the rest of the industry in a minute. But you know, if someone's being licensed to be a practitioner, which to me means they're skilled and equipped to help other people, then they need to be able to do that. You know, I remember the phrase, if you were learning to swim, you wouldn't learn to swim by reading a book. You have to go and get in a swimming pool.
Yeah.
You have to go and do the strokes. You have to go and swallow a few mouthfuls of water. You have to go and try it out.
Yeah.
You have to get given feedback. You know, sometimes that feedback is directly when you're not doing quite so well, but you learn from it, and I just think it's awful that there are people out there with pieces of paper saying that they can do this stuff and they can't. The number of people that ring us and say, I've done a practitioner course, but I really feel like I can't do anything. And I just think, that's just sad, because this toolkit is so powerful. It's so empowering. It literally transforms lives. I've forgotten the number of thank you cards I have at home. I remember there was a young lady we had on a course just this summer, and literally she just wrote inside the card, "You have changed my life." And you kind of think, that's amazing. Yeah. But that wouldn't happen if I couldn't do what I do. Like if I had a piece of paper that just said, oh, Laura knows how to do a belief change. And then you sit down and I go, so we're not really quite sure what we're doing here. But it doesn't instill any confidence in you. And that's not necessarily the practitioner's fault, if I can call them a practitioner in a loose sense, because they haven't been trained properly. Yeah. So I have a big bugbear. I should caveat that we have online courses, but I would never accredit someone to be a practitioner, i.e. equipped to help anybody else, unless I'd seen them personally. You need that feedback. You need to work with another life human being. I just kind of think, imagine myself having bought a practitioner course, sat at home in the office on my own, trying to do a belief change. Yeah. Like, I'm not being funny, I don't have invisible friends I can practice on. It don't happen, So, and there's no one there to give me feedback. There's no one there to say, Laura, that's great, you're almost there. Just course correct this. And do you know what? You would have been absolutely spot on. Yeah. There's no one to do that. You've then got the face-to-face courses, right? Again, you've got some training providers. You'll be one of 60, 70, 80 or more people in a room. Mm-hmm. How are you supposed to walk away having been given proper feedback, have been watched and given feedback? Yeah. I'm not being funny, I'm a pretty good trainer, right? But I can't watch 60 people. Yeah. It just isn't going to happen. Yeah. So there'll be stuff going on in the room that no one sees. Yeah. And we've had people come to us to retrain with us that have done some courses with, I'm not going to name them because they'll probably try and sue me, but some very high profile NLP trainers in the world who have then come to us and said, can you retrain me, please? Like, I saw him do a fast phobia on the stage and got rid of someone's phobia, but we never practiced it. Yeah. Like, that's criminal. Yeah. How can you send someone out into the world thinking they're a practitioner when they haven't even practiced things? Yeah. My passion is turning out practitioners and coaches that can do this stuff. I always go back to the reason I got into this. I do it because I want them to go and change other people's lives. So I better shut up before I take the whole of my podcast up by ranting. But as you can tell, I have a really strong opinion on it, and I just think the NLP industry needs to pull its socks up, quite frankly, because it's about quality. It isn't about just churning people out.
Okay, so we talked about online courses as well as in the classroom training, which obviously, if you want to be a qualified NLP practitioner, then get in the classroom, because that is the hands-on, getting dirty and down with it and doing the stuff.
Totally.
Do you have a favourite technique or tool out of all of your toolkit? And I know that you have a huge toolkit. Could you pick one that is your kind of top of the list?
Can I have two?
Oh, go on then. This is your podcast. Let's have two.
All right, fine. Right. So there are two, but I will answer your question though.
Okay.
If I could only have one thing out of the whole toolkit, it would be submodalities.
Okay.
And submodalities are a bunch of techniques that encode and give meaning to our internal representations, which will mean nothing to anybody that's listening to this that doesn't know any NLP lingo. But basically, it enables us to change the meaning to our thinking, okay? And I can pretty much change anything with submodalities, because I can change the way someone feels about something, I can change their thinking about something, and if I can change their thinking, their emotional state about something, I can change their outcome and their results.
Yeah.
And so if I could only take one thing, I would take submodalities, because I can pretty much do anything with it. Now, the reason why I say could I have two is because there's a very close second, and that's timeline therapy.
Okay.
Timeline therapy changed my life. And I don't say that lightly, like it seriously changed my life, because I was in a really dark place when I was on that practitioner course. And, you know, timeline therapy is an advanced NLP technique. For those listening to the podcast, not to be confused with timeline and walking the timeline, they are entirely different. Timeline therapy was created by Tad James, and you'll only get timeline therapy from an ABNLP accredited school, because we have to be licensed to train it. But timeline therapy is a content-free way of helping people to let go of their baggage. And what I mean by content-free is we don't have to sit there and talk about it. You know, having been taken through counselling, you know, I go in every week, I come out more traumatised than when I went in, because I don't want to sit there and talk about how awful my life is. I want to change it.
Yeah.
You know, and we, on all our prac courses, I'm so passionate about it. Everybody that comes on our prac course gets an experience of it, and we get rid of anger, sadness, hurt, fear and guilt. And all other negative emotions are a subset of those, pretty much. And if you can do that in a content way, you don't have to talk about where it's come from. And you can do that, and you can, what we call, clean the timeline, get rid of the baggage. And it does feel like that sometimes. I feel like I'm putting my marigolds on and getting my dustpan and brush out. You know, and helping someone to do that for themselves.
Yeah.
And then helping them to create their future by putting a goal, a well-written goal, into their future in their timeline, which will sound a bit woo-woo to some people, but it is entirely possible. That's how you change lives.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I had two.
Oh, typical Laura.
I know. I'm sorry.
And I'm with you, because I know for me, being on my practitioner training, timeline therapy was a massive shock in a way. I mean, I don't mean in a bad shock, but just like, oh wow, I didn't realise I was hanging on to stuff that I hadn't realised I was hanging on to. And you walk out after that feeling 10 feet tall, and actually, wow, how much lighter. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's one of those things, because we always do it on Thursday on a prac course, and we're very lucky that a lot of our delegates come back and help the next cohorts that are coming through. So there's always coaches around our courses, and timeline therapy day is always the one people ask for first. Laura, can I come back and coach on the course, but can I do Thursday, please? Because I want to do timeline therapy with people. Because it is, you have, as a coach, you have such a sense of achievement when you see someone. I've literally seen people physically change in front of me, look lighter, be taller, get the sparkle back in their eye. And it's a very special thing to be able to help someone to do that.
It's amazing. It really is. And do you find that journey is still evolving? You're UK and international trainer. I mean, what an accolade to carry around with you in really a relatively short space of time. How does that future space look? You know, where do you see that going? I kind of have, there's two answers to that question, if I'm allowed two answers. One is I have a very clear view as to where I want to take the business and the reasons why, and I'll come back to the reasons why later, but I have a very clear view about who I am, what I stand for, and where I'm going to go. You know, and I stand for quality, I stand for customer service, I stand for making a difference. You know, and that's really important to me. They're core values of mine that, you know, I want to make a difference in this world. And you know, I remember when I first qualified in NLP, and I remember being sat there on the training course, on my NLP practitioner course, and I remember sitting there thinking, now you could go two ways with this, Laura, because you could go down the road of becoming a great coach, and I love coaching people, absolutely, with a huge passion, and I could become an amazing coach. Or I could do the trainer route, and I could become an NLP trainer. And to be quite honest with you, it was a relatively easy decision, because I knew I could do either. But if I became a trainer, I could make a much, much more positive dent in this world. Because if I have a practitioner course full of 16 people, for example, and I can equip those people, I can help them personally change, and I can equip them with skills to go on and help other people. That means that every course I run, if those people just go and help one person,
that's 17 people I've helped.
Yeah.
And the chances are everybody will go on and help more than one person. And so it's like that, ripple effect, drop a pebble in the pond and watch the ripple effect. Could I have helped people in coaching? Yes, and I would have loved it. But that would have been, let's say 20 people a year, maybe 30 people a year, rather than the hundreds, probably even thousands if I really sat and thought about it, that every year that are impacted by my work.
Yeah.
So I have a very clear view on that. The second answer to it is I'm excited about what the future holds.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I very much trust my intuition. I very much am open to opportunity. And so, I love the fact, for example, Tad James, who is the head of the ABNLP that accredits my training, it considers me to be one of the real big rising stars in the UK for NLP training. And that to me is a massive accolade to the impact I've already had and the impact that I could have in the future.
Okay, so, wow, we've kind of jumped all over the place, which is quite exciting. So how about some quick fire questions?
Oh, okay.
Then?
Come on then.
So, if you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
Oh, animals. I love animals. I often tell my dog I wish I was her. I mean, she has a wonderful life, my dog.
Yeah.
But, right, animal. What would I be? Oh, you've really got me on the spot. I feel like I should have the countdown timer. I probably would say a lion.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't know where that's just come from. My unconscious mind has just said a lion.
Right, we'll take that.
Because I believe everybody should stand up tall, be proud, and go and live the life that they want and have all of those lioness or lion attributes of, running their own jungle and, being who they should be. And we often don't. We often are inhibited from doing that. And, I always get the picture of the big lion on the top of the rock in Africa, shaking his mane, going, I am it,
I love it.
Yeah, that was
a lion.
There you go. I'm not sure where that came from, but there you go.
Okay, so if you had the day off tomorrow and you could do anything you wanted, what would you do?
Oh, easy. Walk Rosie by the sea.
Oh,
Rosie's my dog, for those of you that don't know. She is the love of my life. I love it. Being by the sea is where I take time. It's where I unwind. And it's often where my biggest inspiration comes from. Me and Rosie chat a lot when we're walking.
Yeah, I like that. I love the fact that...
I talk to her.
Yeah. And that's fine. No problem at all.
Yeah, she's like second in command, behind obviously everyone else that works in the business. But yeah, she's been through a lot with me, that dog.
Yeah, lovely. So if I was going to pay you for today's podcast and I said, here you are, Laura, here's 20 grand, what would you spend that money on?
Oh, easy. Round the world trip.
Oh, okay.
I love travel. Absolutely love travel. And I would go off. I've always been a great fan of buying experiences, creating memories. Material stuff comes and goes. Don't get me wrong, I like a nice life. But it's the memories that you hold on to.
Okay, so where would you first port of call? Where would that be?
Okay, so I've done around the world once. So I'd go again. I'd go again, but I'd go the other way. Countries I didn't do that I'd want to go to: Africa, South America, Japan. They would probably be the top 3.
And do they feature in the life plan for the future?
Oh yeah, there'll be much more travel in the future. I love travel.
Yeah, how cool is that? Right, okay. So as it's your podcast, I have the badges, the badges of destiny. So for those of you listening, we have a pot here of badges, which have got some random NLP words on. And Laura is in the hot seat, so she gets to pick a few and pick one. Only one. That you want to...
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, okay.
I've picked disruptive.
And yeah, I can say, knowing you, I'd go with disruptive too.
And all the delegates that I've ever trained will now be laughing because they know how disruptive I can be. I've picked it because I think I'm disrupting the NLP industry. There are a lot of people out there that are watching what I'm doing currently, other NLP trainers, and I am disrupting what's going on because I am all about quality and churning out great people. I want NLP to become something that we're proud of, and I'm already proud of it, but it's the go-to thing. It changes lives, and I want to mix it up, and I want to do different stuff, and I disrupt the industry and see where we can go with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, disruptive, and I'm disruptive in lots of other ways as well, but we'll leave that for another podcast.
So people are listening to this, they've kind of got a lovely insight into who Laura is, and I'm testament to say that who you are in the classroom is who you are sat right in front of me, because what you see is what you get. And actually, one thing as a from a delegate's point of view, you're a really supportive trainer, and I felt that the journey for me didn't stop when I walked out with my certificate. There was also follow-ups of how you're getting on and have you done that you said. What do people do if they go, yeah, actually, I like the sound of this? What do they do to connect with you, to find you, to join in on your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll find me on all the social media platforms, but the best place to go is our website. So if people want to go to unleashyourpotential.org.uk, you'll find all the details of all of the face-to-face courses we run, all of the online courses that we run, access to our podcast if you want to hear the other episodes, and also YouTube videos and stuff. So the website is the portal to go to be able to access everything that I offer.
Okay.
And if people want to go to unleashyourpotential.org.uk/brochure, they'll be able to download the brochure, and all the courses are in there as well.
And I'm aware that we're getting close to our time now.
Yeah.
Is there a quick skill that you can do right now that they could take away from this podcast?
We talked earlier about redundancy and just how transformational I think redundancy is, but I am aware, because of my own personal experience, how overwhelming it can be. Overwhelm is a massive part of a problem. You know, when I get anxious, when I was suffering with anxiety and depression, overwhelm was something I did a lot. I was like, I could have had a gold badge in it, quite frankly. I was brilliant at it. So here's something that people can use to help with overwhelm. Overwhelm is a modern day problem that we have. It's the unconscious mind reacting to what's going on in the environment. You can't stop it, but you can manage it. And people become overwhelmed. You know, I kind of call it like, you know, it's like paper shuffling. That's what I used to do. It's like, try and organise it, but just keep moving it around the desk because I don't know where to start. And we deliberately overwhelm ourselves. It's like a metaphorical helicopter, and then we kind of just, you know, end up flying around going, I've got all this to do and this to do and this, and where do I start? And, you know, people waste hours, even days, doing overwhelm. I describe it often as emotional paralysis. It's like getting stuck in a bog, you know, you can't move. And there's a really quick way of cutting through all of that. And it's a simple question. It's literally this. You need to say to yourself, what's the very first thing I need to do? Very first thing. Don't worry about everything else. Just the very first thing I need to do, and then do it. Don't enter into dialogue about it. Don't think about it too much and things like that. Just ask yourself, and whatever comes into your mind first, do it. And that's the best way to manage overwhelm in any context, but particularly around redundancy, because they'll, you know, all of a sudden you're thrown into turmoil, and it's like, well, how am I going to pay the bills, and how am I going to do this, and how am I going to do that? It's like, whoa, stop. What's the very first thing I need to do? Which for me was always to ring my husband, pick the phone up. Look, this has happened. Okay, I know. And the process would start. There is little point in sitting there overwhelming yourself. So remember the key question. What's the very first thing I need to do? And then get on with it. For those people listening that coach others, it's also a great way of helping others. You can ask others that question as well.
Yeah. As our final signing off moment, what's your favourite quote of all time? Or your top sort of suggestive quote or idea for your audience who are listening to you? What would you like them to take away?
I think my parting comment to people would be this. You can do anything you set your mind to. It's about tenacity, it's about focus, and it's about getting on with it. But I absolutely believe you can, and anybody can do anything they want to do. If they want it badly enough, they can do it.
Amazing. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great.